Welcome to the world of retro gaming. With the rise of nostalgia culture in recent years, more and more people are discovering the joys of collecting, restoring, and playing vintage video games. In this video, we will explore this fascinating hobby and discover the allure of retro gaming. To truly understand retro gaming, we must first look at the history of video games. The first video game, Spacewar, was created in 1962, but it wasn't until the release of Atari's Pong in 1972 that video games became a mainstream phenomenon. From there, the industry exploded with the release of home consoles like the Atari 2600 and the Nintendo Entertainment System. But as technology advanced and newer consoles were released, many classic games were left behind. This is where retro gaming comes in. It allows us to revisit these classic games and experience the nostalgia of our childhood. One of the most exciting aspects of retro gaming is the joy of collecting games and consoles. There's something special about holding a physical copy of a classic game in your hands and admiring the artwork and design. Many collectors enjoy scouring garage sales, thrift stores, and online marketplaces for rare finds and hidden gems. And while collecting can be an expensive hobby, the thrill of finding a rare game that completes your collection is a feeling like no other. While the joy of collecting is a big part of retro gaming, it's also important to be able to play these classic games. However, many old consoles and games may not be in working condition. That's where restoration comes in. Some collectors enjoy the challenge of fixing up an old console or refurbishing a game to its former glory. This could include cleaning and repairing cartridges, replacing internal components, or even building custom mods to enhance gameplay. While retro gaming may be driven by nostalgia, it's not just a hobby for those who grew up in the 80s and 90s. Many younger players are discovering the joys of classic games for the first time, drawn in by the charming graphics and simple gameplay. And with the rise of indie gaming, many modern games have been inspired by classic titles, leading to a resurgence of interest in retro gaming. If you're interested in exploring the world of retro gaming, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, decide what consoles and games you want to collect and play. This may depend on your budget and availability, as well as personal preferences and nostalgia. Don't be afraid to start small and work your way up as your collection grows. Second, invest in the proper equipment, such as a CRT television for authentic gameplay or a RetroPie for digital emulation. And finally, join a community of like-minded retro gamers to share tips, advice, and stories. In conclusion, retro gaming is a fascinating hobby for those who love video games, history, and nostalgia. Whether you're a collector, a restorer, or simply a player, there's something special about revisiting classic games and consoles from the past. So go ahead, dust off that old Nintendo or Atari, and take a trip down memory lane. You never know what treasures you might find.